Lord, you have brought us to our journey's end. Once more to you our grateful prayers ascend. Once more we stand to praise you for the past. Grant prayer and praise be honest to the last. If we have learned to feel our neighbor's need, to fight for truth in thought and word and deed, if these are lessons which the years have taught, confirm then, Lord, what you in us have wrought. If from your paths by judgment undismayed, and for your gifts ungrateful we have strayed, if day by day our prayers were faint and few, forgive, O Lord, and build our hearts anew. For all the joys which you have deigned to share, for all the pains which you have helped to bear, for all our friends in life and death the same, we thank you, Lord, and praise your glorious name. Lord, you have brought us to our journey's end. Once more to you our grateful prayers ascend. Once more we stand to praise you for the past. Grant prayer and praise be honest to the last. If we have learned to feel our neighbor's need, to fight for truth in thought and word and deed, if these are lessons which the years have taught, confirm then, Lord, what you in us have wrought.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 28th commencement ceremony of Trinity School at River Ridge. We are honored to have with us here today Justice Christopher Dietzen, who will deliver our commencement address, and Deacon Dan Brewer, who will give the invocation. Deacon Brewer and his wife Rachel are parents of 6 children. 4 are currently students at Trinity. 1 is an alumnus and attending Benedictine College, and 1 is homeschooled. Deacon Brewer's 2 younger siblings were among the first Trinity School classes here in the Twin Cities. He was recently ordained in December and is assigned to Transfiguration Parish in Oakdale. He's a business graduate of the University of Minnesota and is currently the Director of Administration for Net Ministries, a national Catholic youth retreat program. I now ask Deacon Brewer to come forward and give the invocation.
Father, it is so fitting to acknowledge you at the beginning of this ending. For it is you who are the source of all the truth, all the beauty, and all the goodness that we have been pursuing during this time at Trinity. Even when we didn't realize it, what we were pursuing was and is you. For you are the source of athletic excellence and the sheer thrill of playing sports, the thrill of governing robots, the thrill of putting colors together in artwork, the thrill of performing meaningful plays and performing inspired music, the thrill of discovering understanding, the thrill of learning from others who have learned before us. We acknowledge that you are the creator of the unique classmates that we have been privileged to journey alongside, to laugh with, to goof around with, to sweat and to struggle with. What astonishing personalities we have discovered. What inspiring families have we encountered. It is you who have inspired other people not to hoard their wealth, but to share it so that this facility could appear in a cornfield. It is you who have inspired us as parents to make financial sacrifices on our children's behalf. But above all, thankfulness arises in our hearts this day because you have inspired talented teachers and staff to come here and to take an interest in us. Thank you for the goodness of their lives spent in sacrificial service. Thank you for the beautiful ways in which they have reached out to us and encouraged us and inspired us. Their love of learning and their love of us will not be forgotten. And lastly, we will not fail to thank you for all of the sorrows and all of the difficulties that have accompanied our journey here at Trinity. They have been many. Yet, even they have mysteriously manifested your truth, beauty, and goodness. You are the source of all these tremendous graces that we now recall. And so, at the beginning of this ending, we will look to you as we press on into the great unknown of our future lives. Lead us on, kind light.
Amen. Thank you, Deacon Brewer. You may be seated. Before I invite Jack Ridgeway to deliver the valedictory address, I would like to welcome parents, friends, and relatives of the graduates. We are grateful for the support that you have given to the graduates throughout the years. Without that support, attaining an education is difficult at best, impossible at worst. I would also like to extend a special welcome to our alumni. It is wonderful to have you here with us today. Trinity continues to grow and change, but always on the foundation with which you, our alumni, have helped us to establish. We call this event a commencement. A commencement is a beginning. Today's celebration marks the end of one phase and the beginning of another, a cycle that you will notice throughout your life. A commencement is also a leave-taking. The graduates will be leaving behind this place and the unique set of events we have experienced together. Once our students, now each of these young men and women prepare to go out into the world, to use their skills, gifts, and talents as they are led by God, to build his kingdom and spread his wise rule. Before they take leave, we pause to remind ourselves of what it is we set out to do and what, in fact, we have done. We take time to honor these graduates and applaud their accomplishments. I now invite one of our graduate award recipients, Jack Ridgeway, to come forward and give the valedictory, the address of leave-taking.
Ms. Schmitz, Justice Dietzen, Deacon Brewer, members of the faculty and staff, parents, family members, friends, benefactors, and guests, on behalf of the class of 2018, thank you for coming today to celebrate the end of a long journey. To faculty, thank you for spending so much time giving morning prayers, guiding us through the curriculum, and always being willing to converse with us after class when we wanted to pursue an idea further. To friends, thank you for being with us to celebrate the good times, support us through our difficulties, and always comfort us during moments of great loss. Finally, to our parents, thank you so much for allowing us to attend Trinity, for your love, for your sacrifices, and for all the time you gave us over the past years to make this journey possible. I would also like to thank the parents of the international students in particular for sending their children to Trinity. They have enriched our time together. 我也要在这儿特别感谢那些中国学生的家长们，因为他们让他们的孩子来上我们的学校，而这些中国学生们真的丰富了我们在 Trinity 的学习经验。My apologies to the Kim family. I have not yet learned Korean. With all of your support, comfort, love, and sacrifices during our time at Trinity, we have been able to discover ourselves, build friendships, and grow in our understanding of the world. Together, we have progressed from observing the moon to contemplating the universe, from performing in recorder concerts to acting in Pygmalion and Twelfth Night, from singing the quadratic formula song to solving differential equations. We have competed as a team, sung as an ensemble, performed as a cast, and now, to conclude our time at Trinity, we graduate together as one class. We head off on our different paths, some remaining in Minnesota and others stretching as far as California or Vermont. Whether firefighting or pursuing a degree in marine biology, we will all experience a very different culture in our new environments. One in which learning may seem suffocated by concern for the numbers on a completed test, resume, or paycheck. Although sometimes this new culture may distract us, we have learned at Trinity that God calls us to a higher standard of life. We know that the human experience involves more than just a pursuit of wealth or a high GPA. We must strive to have a positive effect on the world, to build God's kingdom each in our own way. God calls us to our different roles in life, and we must discover what these roles are. We have learned about the joys and pains of the human experience. In world issues, we have researched the social, political, and economic difficulties around the world. And yet, despite the problems, we bear witness to the beauty both in nature and in arts. We have prepared to live as God's servants, and now we must act. I'll do my best to expand on this theme over the next 2 hours or so. Now, I'm not a preacher, but I would like to remind you of the parable of the talents. Jesus lays out a narrative describing a master who, before going on a journey, gives 3 servants each a sum of money according to the servant's ability. The master expects a return on his investments, so the 2 servants with greater sums use their trading skills to double their portions. But the 3rd servant, out of fear for his master, buries his talent and receives no profit. When the master comes home, he inquires into the success of each servant. He receives the 2 productive servants with joyous praise, and because of their success in a small deed, he gives them greater responsibility. However, he responds to the fear of loss of the 3rd servant with admonition. The 3rd could have at least put his talent into a bank so as to receive interest, but he did not even do the bare minimum. Therefore, the master takes back the talent and throws the lazy servant into the outer darkness. We have been blessed with our education at Trinity. Let's not waste it. Naturally, a question arises. How will we know what God is calling us to do? Many of us have decided on a major, but even if you're still uncertain, don't worry. The confident ones probably aren't right either. According to a study done by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, only about 27% of college graduates were in a job related to their major. That does not mean we should give up on following our passions or waste years of expensive tuition constantly pursuing a new major, but it does suggest being open to other possibilities. During our time at Trinity, many of us have uncovered interests in music, biology, or literature that as a child we never would have foreseen. I, for one, was not a reader until I came to Trinity. I would much rather have been kicking a soccer ball or playing video games. But I approached our texts with an open mind and discovered the beauty in literature. Just imagine if I had never learned to love reading. I would never have enjoyed Sidney Carton's love-driven sacrifice for Lucy Manette, Plato's allegory of the cave, or Ivan Fyodorovich's struggle to accept God. If we desire to learn, if we desire to find our passions and interests in life, we must be willing to take risks. Allow me to reacquaint you with Teddy Roosevelt, because I believe he demonstrates this necessity for risk-taking. At the beginning of Roosevelt's career, although his thoughts were impactful, his delivery was quite poor. He had asthma, and his voice often cracked, even once confiding, "My voice is not as powerful as it ought to be." But he felt a calling in politics to benefit not only his country, but also the world. Despite receiving criticism for his voice, he continued to work through his struggle. Because of his determination, he improved and became the excellent politician he knew he could become. Listen to this excerpt from one of Roosevelt's speeches known as "The Man in the Arena," which demonstrates that the proper thing to fear is not failure, but passivity. Roosevelt says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out where the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be among those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." The difficulty and beauty of risks is in their uncertainty. In athletics, every time we step onto the field, the court, the mat, the uncertainty of outcome is what makes the game exciting. Sometimes we face opponents that, by all reason, we should not be able to defeat. But what really gives athletic competition its excitement is the tantalizing possibility of overcoming a Goliath of an opponent, when we face a challenge all in and do our best to triumph, involving ourselves both physically and emotionally, when we risk being heartbroken to achieve something great. Those are the moments we love. We must also take risks to develop our skills in the various arts. At Trinity, we all have the pleasure of drawing and painting, playing recorder and piano, singing, and performing in different plays. We could shy away from the difficulty of producing beauty and never attempt to develop in the different arts. But the truly beautiful times are when we try ambitious pieces, when we step outside our bounds to strive for excellence, when we do the unexpected, like Chen giving his magnificent monologue as the priest in Twelfth Night. We achieve excellence by taking on new challenges and striving to do our best with them. Academically, we can take risks as well. With regards to reading, we can never be certain that we will enjoy a piece of literature, but we give the book our time to find out. We entertain the viewpoints of secular philosophers because we want to explore their ideas of truth and give them a chance to speak. Trinity teaches us 4 years of Latin, and while we build the grammar, we might enjoy it, but most of the payoff comes in our sophomore year when we translate original texts. We put in a lot of time studying Latin without guaranteed results, but we risk the time for the possible enjoyment of translating Caesar's Conquests or the Aeneid, In fact, most of education is a risk. Aristotle states, "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet." We have to risk our time in various subjects hoping they produce intellectual fruit at the end. But sometimes they do not. Sometimes at the end of the path, we are dissatisfied with the result. Whether we failed or the object of our pursuit appeared better from a distance than we found it to be. If we walked into every situation knowing the outcome, it would be meaningless. Anticipation of an unknown result produces excitement, whether it be taking a course for the fun of it, studying abroad, showing vulnerability to a new friend, or standing up for the truth. When we take risks, we expand our limits, and this expanding allows us to learn and to grow. We all love the idea of reaching success, but sometimes we fail. However, if failure were not a possibility, there would be no worry, no tension, no excitement. We must allow for the possibility of failure if we are ever to achieve excellence. Remember, there is no effort without error and shortcoming. And if we fail, at least we fail while daring greatly. Our time at Trinity is a narrative. We come from different backgrounds, homeschool, public school, and other private schools, and some join our story in a subsequent chapter. Even with our different beginnings, we all end up here together. Our Trinity stories consist of class parties, field days, spring formal, and many other good times. Yet every good story has its conflict. The times when we failed our team, when we failed a friend, or when we failed ourselves. In these failures, we have opportunities to grow. We learn about our values, how we see ourselves, we learn who loves us, and through these developments, we become stronger. As stronger individuals, we enter back into the world, ready to fail again, and always hoping to succeed. We develop, grow, and learn as we do battle in the arena. Sometimes, the pain of failure can scare us away from even trying. Investing our emotions in our actions is risky. So do we play it safe? Do we stay out of the arena to keep the dust, sweat, and blood off of our faces? What will we learn then? How will we develop? Wouldn't we be blind to the places God may be leading us and thus miss God's calling for us? Think of the difference between living and partly living as like the difference between participating in class for the joy of it and taking a course just for the grade. Many of us, if not all, have experienced what school can be both at its best and at its worst, and know the difference between being free agents of our own learning and being slaves to academic success. If we're preoccupied with acing the test, whether in school or in life, we're not really risking anything of our own. And so whether we succeed or fail doesn't really matter in terms of what really is important. We can shine in the world as risk takers who accept failure and rejoice in success. God gives us chances to experience various aspects of life, to discover our passions. We must embrace these chances to be ready for God's calling whenever it comes. As we part today and prepare for what lies ahead, may God bless each of you as you enter your arena.
Thank you, Jack. Music is a large part of our life at Trinity. So in keeping with our tradition, before we have our commencement address, I would like to invite the chamber singers and any alumni who wish to join them to come forward and sing Ubi Caritas. Justice Christopher Dietzen served as Associate Justice on the Minnesota Supreme Court for 8 years before retiring in 2016. Prior to that, he served as a judge on the Minnesota Court of Appeals. Justice Dietzen is a native of Washington State, where he earned his Bachelor of Business Administration as well as his law degree from Gonzaga University. Before his public service, he was a senior litigator at the Bloomington law firm Larkin, Hoffman, Daly, and Lingram. He continues to serve as the chair of the Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines Commission and is a member of the Minnesota Judicial Council. He enjoys serving as a speaker, most recently at the Minnesota Prayer Breakfast, as well as serving as a mentor for the University of St. Thomas law students. He also enjoys deep sea fishing, traveling with his wife Peggy, and spending time with his children and grandchildren. It is a great honor to have Justice Dietzen with us this afternoon to give our commencement address. Justice Dietzen.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Head of School Beth Schmitz, distinguished leaders and other speakers, professors and members of the Trinity School community, and the graduating class of 2018, and your family, friends, and guests. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here with all of you. Let me begin first by congratulating you, the graduating class of 2018, on your achievement in graduating from Trinity School. You did it. Everyone remembers graduating from high school, the graduation parties, and the time spent with family and friends. High school graduation is truly a milestone in your life. We are so proud of you. Your family and friends are just so proud of you. Savor it. My advice, it's a good time to ask them for money. It's also a time of uncertainty and excitement. You have the freedom now to try your wings. And uncertainty. What should I do with my life? What are my friends going to do? I will not keep you long from your well-deserved celebration, but I'd like to reflect with you for a few moments on how you might approach the future that lies before you, primarily based on my mistakes along the way. I will start with the big question. Are you ready for the world? Well, here's what I know is true. You have been given important gifts for the journey. Let's start by taking an inventory of the gifts that you've been given for that journey. Second, let's examine what you believe is the true meaning of success. Each of you have many gifts. Indeed, many were mentioned last night. It was so fun being present and hearing all those pithy, concise comments. It was amazing. But I want to focus on the important gifts that your parents have given you. Specifically, you have received an excellent education. How do I know this? Well, because of my experience in receiving a similar type education at Gonzaga Prep when I was growing up, my experience as a Trinity parent, and my experience as a justice on the Minnesota Supreme Court who hired 24 law clerks from law schools across the country. In doing so, I experienced firsthand the quality of education in this country. I also experienced Trinity. One of my law clerks, actually one of my better law clerks, I would say, was a Trinity teacher. To me, Trinity is the gold standard in high school education. Trinity has taught you, and this has got to be familiar with all of you, what is true, what deserves respect, what is honest, pure, admirable, decent, virtuous, and worthy of praise. Its approach is to develop the whole person by reading and studying the great books, by training in religion and philosophy, and by learning foreign languages, including Latin. And you learn the Socratic method to develop the skills of logic and persuasion. You also learn to express yourself logically, coherently, and concisely. This curriculum is not only formative to understanding our culture, but it is also foundational to pursuing truth through critical thinking. And that's what I want to focus on, is critical thinking. You've been taught the discipline of engaging the whole person to vigorously examine an issue or an argument and then apply reason to arrive at the truth. Interestingly, this method of reasoning is very similar to the decision-making method that we use at the Minnesota Supreme Court. We have an active court calendar where we hear 14 cases for oral argument every month. 2 cases are randomly assigned to a justice to prepare a bench memo 1 week before that argument. The purpose of the bench memo is to summarize the relevant facts and law and to make a recommendation. Each justice reads everything, and then we have oral argument. Oral argument lasts about an hour. We have 2 cases, and then we go back to the conference room and we argue or we debate the case. We sit in order of seniority. The Chief Justice sits at the head of the table, and the discussion begins with the justice who is responsible for the bench memo speaking to the case and making a recommendation based on everything that has been printed, that we've read, and also based on oral argument. And then everyone responds in order of seniority to either agree or disagree with the reasoning and to agree or disagree with the result. That's our way of debating and coming to the truth of the matter. There's 2 things that we do that are important. One is that when a justice is speaking, no one interrupts that person. And number 2, we refer to each other as justice. And we do that for a reason. The argument is not personal. There's no such thing as a bad idea. So it's not about the person. It's about the issue and trying to come to and grasp the truth of the matter. The decision-making process then goes to opinion writing, and those opinions are reviewed by everyone. I am amazed and have been amazed throughout my life as to how many people have not developed the skill of critical analysis. Indeed, many make decisions impulsively or without all of the relevant facts. You have many decisions that will be facing you. How will you decide what career path to follow? Should you get married? What news should I believe? And why? You may be confident that you have the necessary skills to critically examine and answer all these questions and apply reason to arrive at a good decision. You have a second gift, which I think is the greatest gift of all. Your parents have taught you to have faith in God and to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor. My faith in Jesus is important to me. He provides the answers to all of life's most difficult questions. Through faith, I strive to lead a virtuous life, to be a better husband, father, and justice. In short, to be a better person in every aspect of my life. Now, why do I bring this up? You have these gifts. Well, here's the thing. Life has a way of taking us to places we did not expect. I certainly did not expect to be a justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. That was the last thing on my mind. And sometimes life throws a curveball or some adversity our way. Rule number 1, you will make mistakes, and there will be times when your faith is tested. The one constant in my life, however, has been that God has been with me every step of the way. The first time I began to understand that God was with me occurred when I was 12. My 3 brothers and I were playing basketball in our backyard on a Saturday morning. A car drove down the alley, stopped, and the driver asked for directions to the local bowling alley. I gave him the directions, and he asked if I would hop in the car, and I would show him, and he'd bring me back. I did. As I drove down the alley, I realized I made a terrible mistake, and I became very fearful. I showed him the bowling alley, and he continued driving several more blocks and stopped. He ordered me into the back seat of the car, and then he exited the car and approached me in the back seat. In the process, I remember saying these words, "Jesus saved me." That was all that I could say. And just as he was about to force himself on me, I heard a voice say, "What in the hell are you doing?" It was my dad. My dad moved the man into the front seat, took the keys, and took me home. When I came into the living room of our house, my mother embraced me and said, "Chris, do you know what just happened to you?" I said, "Yes, my dad saved me." She said, "No, your heavenly Father saved you. God and his angels protected you." I then was told that when my dad had heard what had happened, he jumped in the car and he just started driving. And he happened to see this car, and he approached the car, and there I was. For me, that was a miracle. For our family, it was a miracle. Through that experience, I came to believe that God truly loved me and that I should put my trust in him, put my future trust in him. I encourage you to put your trust in Jesus. He is worthy of our trust. In making decisions about the direction of your life, including career choices, I encourage you to pursue your dreams and think big. Our deepest calling is to grow into our own authentic person. The most important question is not what ought I to do with my life. Instead, it is, who am I? Am I created in the image and likeness of God? What are my gifts? How do I love God and others? As you seek the truth, you will find the answers to these questions, and the joy that every human being seeks will be yours, which is authentic service in the world. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I made lots of mistakes. Chief Justice Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court famously stated recently, quote, "It is not because you succeeded at everything you did, but because with the help of your friends, you were not afraid to fall. And if you did fall, you got up and tried again," close quote. I hope that you have failures and that you make mistakes so that you can learn and that you can grow. One morning, a couple of years ago, I went for a bike ride near our cabin. I saw this juvenile bald eagle take one of its first flying voyages. It was fun to watch. The eagle dropped out of the nest and began to fly. It was beautiful. But upon its return to the nest, the eagle misjudged the height of the nest and crashed into the side of the tree. It was just pow. When you crash and burn or fail, get up and try again. It's not your successes that you will learn from. It's the mistakes that you made and what you do about them. When I graduated, I wanted to be a doctor, so I pursued medicine. Unfortunately, my sophomore year, I met organic chemistry, and it won. I did not have the aptitude to be a doctor. My plan B was to take over the family business, so I switched to business, and I did very well. My junior year, a family friend who knew me well recommended I study law. My I looked into it and I talked to my dad, and we decided that I should go to law school and then take over the family business. And I did really well in law school. Unfortunately for all of us, or maybe fortunately, the business climate changed. And we decided my dad needed to sell the business and I should practice law. My point is that in choosing a career, I pursued my dreams by exploring different occupations. What I started to do is not what I ended up doing. That process that I followed, including a failure, wanting to be a doctor and not being able to, a change in business circumstances, and then law school, and then private practice, and voila, I went on to be a judge and a justice. Once you decide your career path or make any other important life decision, use your best efforts to succeed in that choice. In short, try to be the very best you can be. As my former colleague and Pro Football Hall of Famer Alan Page would say, quote, "Seek excellence and not simply play to the level of the competition." Close quote. The same principle applies to making career choices. Once you've made the decision to do your very best to succeed in that choice you've made, don't mimic what others are doing around you. Don't compare yourself and try and measure yourself by what others are doing. Do your personal best. Be the very best, and be your very best and highest self. So most of you are probably saying, geez, Dietzen, you've just helped me take an inventory of these gifts, Trinity School, faith, I know all of that. I want to know, how can I be successful? How can I make lots of money? Well, I don't know. Success is defined as, quote, the achievement of something desired, planned, or attempted, close quote. For me, success is a lifelong process in which I seek to fulfill the purpose for which I was created, to serve God and to serve others. That's what makes me happy. I can't tell you how to be successful. Each person must find his or her own way. In my experience, though, the most important lessons about how to be successful are not always obvious or apparent. Here are 5 things I've learned that I wish I would have known if I was sitting in your chair today. First, always treat others with dignity and respect. Some people think that discourteous or rude behavior is necessary to get what you want. It is not. Those who use obnoxious behavior may gain a temporary advantage, but that approach never works in the long run. Instead, such people develop a negative reputation and no one wants to work with them. Additionally, honesty, truthfulness, and taking responsibility for your actions are necessary ingredients to success. People will not want to work with you if you can't be trusted. Let me tell you a story. Stephanie Loesch was a high school student from Granite Falls who fell into the wrong crowd. 3 boys and 2 girls start drinking at 3 in the afternoon, one in November, at Stephanie's uncle's cabin. When they ran out of beer, the girls went to get more. When they returned, it was dark, and 2 of the boys were beating the heck out of another one, the 3rd boy, with a baseball bat. He was unconscious. They, the boys, ordered the girls to help them load the body, he was still alive, into the back of a pickup truck. They dropped the body by a swamp. The next morning, Stephanie called the sheriff. Sheriff went out. The person was still alive. He died a day later. The 2 boys were tried and convicted of manslaughter, sent to prison. Stephanie was charged with kidnapping. Transporting a person via the truck is kidnapping. And she pled guilty, and the sentence for that crime is 10 years in prison. At that stage of her life, she had a young child. The judge felt sorry for her. The judge said, I'm going to give you a 10-year suspended sentence on several conditions. One, you serve a year in the county jail, and you get work release, but on the weekends you've got to go to jail. Number two, no drugs, no alcohol, no exceptions. Well, guess what happened? The last weekend of the year of that sentence that she had, she was going to still remain on probation. She showed up at the prison, or at the local jail, high. She told the guy at jail that she had toothache and asked her sister for Advil, and she got Percocet. Didn't know it. The judge had no sympathy. He revoked the probation and sent her to prison for 10 years. Now, why do I tell you that story? You're smart kids. You know all about this stuff. Well, you know what? Until you're faced with it, you don't know. You really don't know what you're going to do. The people you hang out with matter. Choose friends who share your values and who will be with you in difficult times. Second, when something doesn't seem right, don't do it. She had a choice, and she didn't. They loaded the body, and she had that choice when the last weekend of that sentence. Stephanie's desire to fit in with her group, peer pressure of her friends, led to tragic consequences. You will have situations occur where you need to say no. Don't be afraid. No one will fault you for saying no the next day. Third, Stephanie was given a second chance and didn't take it. When you make a mistake, take personal responsibility and learn from it. Second, find a mentor. What is a mentor and why do I need one? You will quickly find that life is challenging and that you can't do everything on your own. Sometimes you will need help and advice from others. A mentor is someone who will give you good advice to help you make important decisions. It is a person you can trust to give you good advice, whether you want to hear it or not. Jim Larkin, when I was a lawyer, before I was a judge, was my mentor. He was a prince of a man. He taught me honesty and integrity. He was my mentor. God bless him. Third, keep your faith in God through the journey. Ask God for assistance, and He will be with you and guide your ways. After practicing law for about 5 years, I had one of those epiphany moments when the purpose of my work became clear. The word vocation means a calling, especially a divine calling to undertake a certain kind of work. I discovered that my work is a vocation to serve God. Viewing work as a calling to serve God gives meaning to our work and motivates us to do it well. And this approach integrates our faith and our values into our whole life. Choose to serve God in your work. Don't make the mistake of trying to separate or compartmentalize your personal and spiritual life from your work life. The notion that on Sunday you can go to church and apply your Christian values on that day and then apply a different set of values to your work life is inherently flawed. Instead, we should apply the same values to all aspects of our life. When you decide that your work is a vocation to serve God, you will be better able to see God in your work. Let me illustrate my point with a story. Several years ago, I was asked to represent a Bible camp which had appealed the denial of its application for a property tax exemption. To win the case, we needed to prove that the Bible camp positively affected people's lives. At trial, I present the testimony of several witnesses who attended the Bible camp, one of which changed my life. Her name is Donna. Donna testified that she lived in Eden Prairie and attended the Bible camp. Donna stated that on the first morning of the retreat, she attended a women's quilting group with 6 other women. Initially, the individuals of the group introduced themselves and explained why they came to the retreat. When it was Donna's turn, she said, quote, "I decided to go at the last minute. I really don't know why I came to the retreat, close quote. She then explained, for many years, my mother and I went to the Bible camp on this weekend, but I stopped going about 10 years ago. Why? Asked one of the other women. Donna responded, my mother was killed in a car accident in Brainerd. I was devastated and mad at God. I stopped going to the retreat. Upon further questions, Donna described the date and place of the accident. Then a woman in the group stated, Donna, I saw your mother's car accident that day. I was following your mother's car in my car when the accident happened. I grabbed my Bible and I rushed out of my car and I entered your mom's car on the passenger side. I prayed with your mother until she died in my arms. It was a sacred moment. Donna's testimony reveals something very important to us. God is present in our world and in our courtrooms and in our lives. It was truly moving to witness this testimony in court. Fourth, find balance in your life. You will find that when you begin a work career, you will receive pressure to work long hours to succeed. Sometimes you may need to work long hours, but it doesn't work in the long run. A successful person maintains a reasonable balance between his or her work and personal life. You need to make time for family and friends, physical exercise, and for your social and spiritual life. Yes, I did say spiritual life. Take time for God in your life. When you work too much, the rest of your life will suffer. The person who balances his or her personal life will be more effective in his or her work life. Fifth, promote the common good by volunteering to serve others and improving the quality of life in our community. As Trinity graduates, you've been given a real gift, a true great education. With that gift, you have the responsibility, I believe, to generously give back to the needs of the community in which we live. You have been given, these gifts are meant to be shared with others for the common good. That's how you fulfill the commandment to love God by loving others. And that's how you make a difference in the world. Volunteer opportunities are endless and take many different forms, from working at a food shelf to teaching others, such as teaching English to Spanish speakers, Hmong or Somali speakers, to name a few. My volunteer work was teaching English to others and serving the interests of justice by teaching at University of St. Thomas Law and by mentoring students at the law school and currently doing work at the Archdiocese. When you volunteer, you will find that serving others is very rewarding, and oftentimes you will learn more in that process than many other things that you will do. In conclusion, I wish you every success in your future. As Trinity graduates, you've been given the opportunity to make a difference in our community and in our world. You are the future leaders of this country. As you go forward in your life, I ask that you continue to reflect on the gifts that you have been given, the Trinity education and your faith in God, and to always seek God's guidance in your decision making and to seek excellence. You should have confidence that these gifts will help you be successful in finding your career path and pursuing authentic service in the world. When you recognize that your career is a vocation to serve God and others, it will add meaning to your work and motivate you to do it well. Also reflect on the importance of treating others with dignity and respect, finding a mentor, keeping your faith in God, maintaining balance in your life, and promoting the common good. And last but not least, never grow weary in pursuing the truth. Continue that discipline. When you do, I believe you will have a positive impact on your community and on our world. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Justice Dietzen. We would like to express our appreciation to you for being with us this afternoon. As a token of our gratitude, we have had the following words of Thomas Aquinas inscribed on a plaque in your honor. Since human actions are about singulars, which are infinite in number, matters pertaining to the direction of human actions cannot be taken into sufficient consideration, except by a wise man, who looks into each one of them. Thank you, Justice Dietzen. It is now time for the granting of the diplomas. Seniors, please rise. I invite you to take your place along the side and ask Mr. Pat Murphy, our academic dean, to come forward and introduce this part of the program.
We have reached the moment for the presentation of the graduates. At Trinity, it is possible to receive a diploma with honors. The word cum laude indicate consistently high achievement throughout the student's high school career. Each student receiving a diploma with this distinction has a GPA of 4.25 or better and has received 2 or more high passes on junior and senior orals and projects. The love of learning is at the heart of Trinity School. We are dedicated to the faculty and students learning together. One of the most important elements of the Trinity School vision is that of a community of men and women who love learning. Students, as they mature, are brought more fully into this community of learners. The granting of the Trinity Diploma is a symbol of young men and women having made significant steps toward full membership in this community. As they entered today, they were led by 2 teachers who present them as ready to take their place in this community of learners. The entire faculty sit here in front to welcome the graduates as they come forward to receive their diplomas. And so the graduates. Claire Elizabeth Anderson. Matthew David Bittner. Rebecca Elizabeth Bittner. Emiliana Rose Brewer. Thomas Garion Britcher, cum laude. Mason Alexander Colcutt, Tianj Chen, Madeline Marie Cunningham, Thomas Angelo Dorgarian, Charles Robert Delaney Druffner, Megan Elizabeth Erickson, cum laude. Pang Fong, Lauren Christine Forbes, cum laude. Anna Marie Friends, cum laude. Greta Joy Goldman, Bella Lucia Hammond, Katherine Hesrick Hodgdon, cum laude. Matthew Raymond Herbacek, Cameron Alexander Huntington, Jackson James Jones, Cade Austin Jorgensen, Junso Kim, Andrew Jacob King, cum laude. Maria Nicole Kish, cum laude. Patrick John Koberman, Matthew Christopher Kuplick, Bella Magdalena Lorenz, Jacob John Masick, Elizabeth Joja Manu, Anna Joy Mashad. Emma Hannafin Miller, cum laude. Amelia Elizabeth Arlene Neild. Maria Dolores Nicholas, cum laude. Margaret Mary O'Connell, cum laude. Amy Nicole Patrick. Claire Marie Patris. Chloe May Peter. Catherine Claire Putzier. John Gregory Ridgeway, cum laude. Samantha Marie Robbins. Noah William Root. Alexa Rose Sexton. Aviv Elizabeth Stella. Teresa Marie Stone. Jacob John Tice, cum laude. Samuel Connor True. Antonio Xavier Vigliatoro. Daniel Seamus Votel. Oliver Thomas Waldron. Aaron Christopher Wessel. Thomas Henry Wittenberg. Thomas Anthony Wilkin, cum laude. Savannah Kathleen Willard, cum laude. Sirwei Zhang. J.E. Zong. So as is traditional at graduations, I ask the graduates to stand, and as a sign of their accomplishments, to move the tassel on their hats from the right side to the left. Let us honor the class of 2018.
You may be seated. In a few moments, I will present the graduate award and the class of 2018. Before that, though, it is our tradition that the head of school make some closing remarks to the graduates themselves. Graduates, the time for instruction has passed, and while I speak to you as a teacher and as head of school, I now also address you as an alumna to fellow alumni. I want to give you one final encouragement, rooted in what the diplomas that you hold in your hands represent. As Mr. Murphy reminded us, love for learning is at the heart of the community of learners that you now take leave of. And your diploma represents the enormous strides that each and every one of you has taken to become mature learners. With the help of the faculty and your parents, you have laid a foundation which is now yours to build upon. I know some of you are ready to go, and others would rather linger, and I can appreciate both of these sentiments. But regardless of your disposition, this is the moment that we have been working so hard for. You have been laying a foundation for the choices that are now before you, for the new beginning that you can commence today, and the many new beginnings that will follow. This foundation certainly includes the knowledge that you have acquired, which is not insubstantial. As the knowledge that you have gained grew more sophisticated, you laid another crucial layer of this foundation, which Justice Dietzen talked about, namely the habits of mind that equip you to discover and create and recognize truth, beauty, and goodness. Now, if you've ever laid an actual foundation for a patio or a shed or a house, you know that it must hold together. There must be a unity to it if the structure to be built upon it is to be sound. If the foundation we have worked to lay consisted only of knowledge and intellectual skill, it would be incomplete and unsound. Knowledge and intellectual skill certainly are important. We've spent a lot of time growing together in understanding of the world and developing habits of mind. Many of you noticed in the last weeks that as you grew in these things, something else became strikingly evident. As you came to know more, you also glimpsed how much more there is to be known. As wonder propelled you to learn, you discovered that in gaining new insight, you also arrived in a new place of wonder. As mystery gave way to explanation, and explanation uncovered deeper mystery. In the words of Jacques Maritain, you discovered, quote, truth which does not depend on us, but on what is. Truth is not a set of ready-made formulas to be passively recorded, so as to have the mind closed and enclosed by them. Truth is an infinite realm, as infinite as being, whose wholeness transcends infinitely our powers of perception, end quote. So what makes the foundation that we have been laying together a firm one? How is this to be a strong foundation that does not crumble under the weight of all that remains to be known? The answer is simple, and Mr. Murphy already said it. Love is what provides sustenance when the pursuit of truth becomes difficult. Love is what energizes us to persevere in creative endeavors. Love for the world and one another and the one who created us is what will sustain us in the practice of goodness. As St. Paul says, love is the one thing that is able to bear all things, to believe all things, to hope all things, to endure all things. It is the one thing that does not fail. Love for learning is rooted in love for the world, in love for what is, in all of its concreteness and boundless expanse. It both grows from and leads to love for the goodness of a universe that reflects the goodness of our Creator. Love binds our knowledge and skill and ongoing pursuit together and makes the foundation firm. In the midst of a community that is committed to persevering in the pursuit of truth, the creation of beauty, and the practice of goodness, you have laid this foundation. You have persevered. You have completed a task that requires courage and determination. My final encouragement to you is to continue to persevere in the pursuit of truth, the practice of goodness, and the creation of beauty. Do not let this vision grow dull. And if it does, and you find yourself wandering and unsure of where to turn, return to it. The pursuit of truth is not a disembodied, abstract idea. It is an active response to the situations we find ourselves in, a response that seeks to discern how to act in wisdom. The creation of beauty is not a smooth marketing gimmick. It is a response to an urgent need. It lies before you to create beauty that brings healing to situations broken by sin and suffering. The practice of goodness is not something to despair over or disregard because we do it imperfectly. It is what we were made for. To practice goodness is to reflect the goodness and wisdom of the one whose image we bear. So do not let this vision grow meaningless because of the gift of its familiarity. Rather, take courage. Jacques Maritain goes on to say that this conquest of being, this progressive attainment of new truths, or the progressive realization of ever-growing and ever-renewed significance of truths already attained, opens and enlarges our mind and life, and situates them in freedom and autonomy. And speaking of will and love, rather than knowledge, no one is freer or more independent than the one who gives himself for a cause or a real being worthy of the gift." End quote. It is now for you to go and to nurture the love for learning that has allowed you to lay the foundation that we celebrate today. Discern how you are called to practice goodness, create beauty, and pursue truth. And in doing so, you will discover the gift that you are to make. Congratulations, and God go with you. We have last to present the Graduate Award. The Graduate Award is the highest award granted by Trinity School. It is given to a young man and a young woman in the senior class who have distinguished themselves during their tenure at Trinity for their embodiment of the highest academic ideals of the school. The award carries with it a $500 scholarship from the Kopp Family Foundation, a plaque for each award winner, and the inscription of their names on a permanent plaque in the school. Furthermore, one of the Graduate Award winners is asked to represent the class by delivering the valedictory address, and the other to do so by offering a closing prayer. This year, the faculty has selected Kate Hodgdon and Jack Ridgeway to receive this award. Kate and Jack, please come forward and receive your honor. During their time at Trinity, both Kate and Jack have been steadfast in their pursuit of truth and the development of intellectual skills and habits of mind. They are both sharp analytical thinkers who are also deeply reflective, curious participants in the rigorous exploration of reality. The faculty praises Kate's independent spirit, through which she tackles challenging problems and brings rigor to all of her endeavors. At the same time, she is a steady participant in the community of learners who is attuned to the beauty of the whole, regardless of the discipline. The faculty highlighted Jack's engagement with all aspects of the community of learners and praises the deep respect he has for the great works he has studied and for the peers and teachers he encounters them with. His work is thorough and elegant and demonstrates a rigorous engagement and depth of understanding. Next year, Kate will be attending the University of Chicago, and Jack will be attending St. Olaf College. It is now my honor to present the graduate award to Kate Hodgdon and Jack Ridgeway. Congratulations. Before I invite Kate to close the ceremony with a prayer, I would like to invite all of you to join us for a reception in the Commons after the ceremony. This ceremony will be posted online for you to share with family and friends who weren't able to join us today, and we will also send information about the video to each of the graduating seniors' families. I now invite Kate to offer the final prayer on behalf of the class of 2018. You may remain seated.
Dear Lord, though we leave a place that has become comfortable, and though we have no clear view of what is coming on the horizon, let us remember that your unfailing love and mercy still continue, fresh as the morning, as sure as the sunrise. We know this because all along you were giving us the time, talent, and opportunity to finish this pursuit together. You worked through each of us in every Humane Letters discussion, in every classroom, in every project, production, performance, and work of art. You have blessed us with teachers like Dr. O'Hanley, may he rest in peace, who consider it their vocation to care for each student. They are passionate, patient at all times, and excited to share what they know. You have used this grace in them to show us your infinite love and mercy, and through them you have created this environment that is challenging and pushes us towards excellence and the truth. The challenges we have come across thus far, especially this year, we have met with the strength that you have given us, and we are growing. Let this hope refresh us daily as your love continues to surround us and our families and friends. Let us overflow with joy, gratitude, and hope, and fill us with your grace, for there is no journey that we could venture without you. Amen.
It is time for you to go. We will miss you, but we are grateful for the time that we have had with you and are proud of all that you have accomplished. And we look forward with great joy and hope to the new beginning that is already underway for you. On behalf of the entire faculty, I congratulate you and wish you well. I now present the class of 2018.
please join us. Rejoice, the Lord is King, your Lord and King adore. Rejoice, give thanks and sing and triumph evermore. Lift up your heart, lift up your voice, rejoice again, I say rejoice. The Lord our Savior reigns, the God of truth and love. When he had purged our stains, he took his seat above. Lift up your heart, lift up your voice, rejoice again, I say rejoice. His kingdom cannot fail, he rules o'er earth and heaven. The keys of death and hell are to our Jesus give. Lift up your heart, lift up your voice, rejoice again, I say rejoice. Rejoice in glorious hope, our Lord the Judge shall come, and take his servants up to their eternal home. Lift up your heart, lift up your voice, rejoice again,